Uma das empresas mais faladas, discutidas, polêmicas do mundo, com um programa de APIs já com alguma estrada, com histórias muito legais para serem compartilhadas. A gente tem uma honra incrível de poder receber o Dustin. Vou trocar para o inglês agora. Dustin, please come over. So, I'll let you to introduce yourself. Sounds good. Okay, great.
So, hi, my name is Dustin Whittle. I'm a developer advocate at Uber. I'm based in San Francisco, so it's really a pleasure to be here today. So thanks for joining me to talk about how Uber built its developer platform and some of the lessons that we learned along the way. And so you probably know Uber by now. Push a button, get a ride. And Uber's mission is really to make transportation as reliable as running water everywhere for everyone. And we've done so in under 8 years in more than 73 countries, 470 cities, by partnering with more than 1.5 million active drivers who on average do more than 5 million trips a day. And so we partnered with all sorts of different brands. And really, I want to tell the story of how we built the Uber API, why, and how we evolved it over time. But first, I want to talk a little bit about my team's mission. So again, I work for the Uber developer platform, and our motto is to build movie experiences. And we think of this in 2 pieces. Build, working with developers, forging partnerships, providing tools to let builders build. And this really comes from an Uber cultural value that we have to let builders build. To unlock people, to enable them with tools to create innovative experiences using our APIs. And then moving experiences. The Uber developer platform is really an open platform for moving people and things from A to B. And we want to add features for people while they move, and we want to build moving experiences that bring joy to people's lives, that make it easier and better to use Uber. And so we've done this over a short period of time. But first, let's talk about how we started. And so the journey so far. Long before Uber actually had a public API, there was a lot of developers who started reverse engineering the interaction between our mobile application and our server side. So they created their own API using our internal private API. And so what I've learned with working with developers for the past 15 years is that if there's a will, there's a way. And you really can't stop developers from building, so you might as well enable them. And that's exactly what we did. And so it really started with this notion of push a button, get a ride. And we wanted to make it possible to move this button into every application that you use. And so the first thing we did was enable deep linking. So not even an actual API, just the ability to link into the Uber application and set a destination or apply a promotion code. And by just enabling this functionality, we open up a ton of different use cases. And so you can see applications like Citymapper that allow you to figure out the best way to get from A to B directly using our APIs. You can see applications like Hilton and United, where if you know that you're going to the airport at a certain time, or you have a flight and you know you need to be there by 6 p.m., make it easy to schedule a ride. And the same for Hilton. If you arrive at an airport and you know you have a reservation, make it easy to get from the airport to your hotel. And so in 2014, we first released the Uber API. And really in 2015, the world's largest brands started building and elevating their customer experiences by using Uber. And today, some of the largest brands around the world really innovate and create great customer experiences with Uber. And so we enable them to do this in a few different ways. First, let's talk a little bit about our different APIs. But what does an API mean to you? As an engineer, I think it's just an interface between systems. As a product person, I think of it as an integration between products that make something innovative. But really, it's an experience created by people. And give builders tools, and allow them to have a little inspiration, and they'll create magic for you. Uber can't possibly build every feature that we want, so we enable a large ecosystem so they can help build with us. And we took our model of push a button and get a ride and transformed it to make an API call and get a ride. So we enabled a whole other set of use cases with our ride request API. And the ride request API is pretty straightforward. Make an API call with a location to pick up and a destination, and a ride shows up. And what we learned when we first offered ride request API is it wasn't enough. People want to be able to integrate directly into the Uber experience. When I know where you're coming from and where you're going, I know how much free time you have. And I can understand a little bit of the context of your journey, and I can start to create custom experiences around that. And so we evolved with the Trip Experiences API. But it wasn't just enough. Drivers want to be paid instantaneously, drivers want to be able to file their taxes easily, and we really wanted to create a great ecosystem for drivers to choose to drive with Uber. And so we enabled our drivers API that allows people to easily integrate with their trips, figure out how much time they spend driving and how much time they're earning, but also to use their identity, their Uber reputation as an identity platform. And finally, we don't just move people, but we move things. So we wanted to enable the deliveries to be able to provide on-demand delivery for modern businesses. And so in Sao Paulo, we released Uber Eats, where you can get food delivered on demand through our Uber Eats marketplace. But imagine if you could do this for any business. There's a delay between the slides, but we'll just carry on. So when you think about it, APIs are not the only thing that you need, because a platform is not just a product. An API is an ecosystem, and platforms are ecosystems. So when we think about releasing Uber developer products, we're not just making an integration possible through a REST API call, we really want to create an open ecosystem for people to build on top of our developer products. Developer products are more than just APIs. They're really the tools that developers need to be successful. But that all changes when you interact with the real world. When you interact with the real world, it adds a whole other level of complexity and opportunity. But accidents happen, traffic happens, there's a lot of things outside of your control that really start to influence the experience of the customer. And so also the reliability of the system. And so one of the things we just try to do is make the complex simple. And so this is actually the Uber's internal architecture. We have over 3,400 microservices that power the Uber platform. And over 100 of those just in the core trip flow. And so you don't want developers to have to think about how they untangle this mess. You want to make it extremely simple. They just want to get from A to B in a single call. And so part of the goal with the Uber developer platform was to do just that. We make the complex simple. And so through ride requests, again, get from point A to point B. And we released a few products to get started. One, we understand when you have an intent to ride. I know by looking at your calendar that you have an appointment across the city in an hour, and it's going to take you 45 minutes to get there. I can intelligently notify you on when you should leave for that appointment. And so we started to offer functionality for intent to ride as a use case. We wanted to make it easy to figure out what products are available in cities. At Uber, one of our cultural values is to celebrate cities. Every city is unique. Not only the products that work in a specific city, but the traffic patterns and the demographics of the user base. And so we wanted to make it easy for people to integrate all of our products and get time and price estimates. The next is we wanted to make it easy to integrate. It's not just integrating through technical APIs, but also by dropping in a button or even the entire Uber experience with our ride request widget. And then people wanted to find out about the details of the ride. If a ride is currently ongoing, how long is it going to take to get to my destination? And what's the context of where I'm coming from and where I'm going? And so with that, we ended up building the ride request API, and one of the first integrations was Citymapper. And so Citymapper is pretty straightforward. We use our products endpoint to pull which products are available at a given latitude and longitude. We use our time and price estimates endpoints to figure out how long is it going to take for the ride to get there, and how much is it going to cost. And we wanted to make it easy to integrate, so we chose deep links. And with a deep link, you can simply integrate directly from your application into the Uber app, where you can push a button and set the destination. And so this enabled a whole bunch of different use cases, because it's not just apps like Citymapper. It's more. It's conversational interfaces, it's bots, It's embedded directly inside of other applications. And so whether it's powered by Amazon Echo or Google Home or one of the many assistants out there, we wanted to make it as easy as possible to order an Uber ride through whatever medium you choose. And by enabling the Ride Request API, we actually enable large companies to directly integrate the Uber experience without even having the Uber app installed. And so recently, Google Maps launched a global integration that allows you to directly integrate inside of Google Maps. So if you're looking at a location, you can choose to ride. You can choose to ride there. Oh, we're gonna have to go back and try that again. So when you open up Google Maps and you search for a location, with a click of a button, you can have the entire Uber experience directly inside of the Google Maps application. And so anybody can build these types of experiences with our APIs. But it wasn't just enough to have the core ride experience. We wanted you to be able to hook directly into the ride. And so we added a set of webhooks. And so webhooks are basically an easy way to have our system notify your system that something's changed. And if you think about an Uber trip is really just a state machine. It's pretty straightforward. We have the processing state where we're matching a driver to a rider. We have the accepted state. Once the ride has been accepted and we know a user's on their way, or a driver's on their way, you get the arriving state. And then once you start your trip, you go in progress. And as you arrive at your destination, you've completed. But if you think about the life cycle of a trip, each one of these are distinct events. And this is just the success case. When there's errors like a rider cancels because they ordered too soon or they needed to make a change, or a driver cancels because it no longer works for them, you need to be able to be notified. So webhooks enabled a two-way integration between our products, but it also allowed us to hook directly into the trip experience. And so through our Trip Experiences API, we really wanted to use webhooks to allow you to be reactive to the Uber journey, where you can be notified that any user's ordered a ride, that ride is arriving right now, and then you can hook into the experience of that ride. And so in July of 2016, we hit our 2 billionth trip. And on average, the trips are approximately 20 minutes per trip in the US. And so if you think about the free time, the attention that you can capture, if you think about it, it's 40 billion minutes of free time. And this is growing at a crazy rate today. And so we really wanted to provide this context to third parties so that they can create custom experiences for the life of the Uber ride. And so that's exactly what we did. And the Trip Experiences API can tell you when a user has free time, when I know that you're going to be traveling. If you take Uber to work or home every day, you can start to notice intent. You can capture where they're coming from, where they're going, and how much free time they have along the way. And so you can start to figure out really great customer experiences. So if you can imagine you're heading from the airport and you're heading to a hotel, and we know that your hotel has a reservation, they can greet you at the door automatically because they can be notified of your arrival. The same for airports, the same for restaurants, and many other use cases. And so when we initially released this idea, we didn't launch with partners. We wanted to offer this functionality, seed some ideas, and see what the community built. And so originally we wanted to say, okay, when you're on your way home, if you're connected with Nest, you can have your house preconditioned based on your arrival to your home. As you leave your house, you can have your SmartThings lights turn off. And so we wanted to just seed some basic ideas and see what happened. And so we ended up releasing this product for a product launch in the traditional form. And one of the things that we launched was curated podcast. So Auto Radio is a podcast and social news application that allows you to get curated content for the length of your ride. And so they use the Trip Experiences API to provide a custom experience based on the context of an Uber ride. And so what this looks like off trip, if you just open the Auto Radio app, it's the standard app. You can just choose something that you're interested in and listen to a podcast that's curated around your interest. But once you're on an Uber trip, it'll start to take the context of the Uber trip. It'll provide a trip tray that gives you the Uber state, how far you are away from your destination. But then it'll also use the length of your journey to provide a custom experience just for that trip. And so we're starting to enable companies to take this context and build on top of it. But the mission at Uber with Uber's developer platform is twofold, because we don't just help third parties be successful with our developer products, we also help our internal program teams build these developer products. And our same approach that we took to an open ecosystem externally, we wanted to make it self-service internally. And so if you think about the way we're structured, we're really structured as programs and platforms. And the easiest way to think of it is that program teams build products on top of technology platforms. And so the developer platform is both. We wanted to provide a developer platform that enabled product teams like Uber Eats and Uber Rush and Uber Freight and many other services to release external APIs on top of this. But we also wanted to enable third parties to be successful with those APIs. And so there's many languages that use at Uber. We're a polyglot engineering organization. We primarily use Go and Java these days, but lots of the core technology is built on Node.js and Python as well. And really underneath, it's quite complex. And so we wanted to make it as simple as possible for people to join our team, quickly get enabled and build products, but also build those products and release them externally. And so we have this concept of the marketplace gateway. That's effectively the front end for the 3,400 microservices that power our core trip flows. And it acts as a router and as a single place to monitor and to document how the APIs work. It's a single place to integrate, both internally and externally. And so Uber's developer platform internally is just a small abstraction on top of the marketplace gateway to expose functionality to third-party developers. And so our challenge was both internal and external. And so one of the first teams that wanted to build an external API was Uber Rush. And Uber Rush provides on-demand delivery, moving things across the city. Whether you want to get flowers picked up and brought to you, or you want to drop a suit off at your tailor, you can move anything across the city very easily. And so we wanted to enable them to build these products self-service. And so that's what they ended up doing. They onboarded to our platform, they followed our tutorials and guides, and they're able to release this as a developer product. And so now, just like with ride requests, you can move things from A to B. And so it follows a similar pattern. You can get a quote for delivery, you can make a post request for delivery, and then you can monitor the status of this across the city. And so we've seen a large adoption of this in food delivery services. And so there's entire companies that have replaced their delivery system with our fulfillment engine, our on-demand delivery. So when you have massive spikes on New Year's Eve and Halloween and on popular days, you don't actually have to hire additional staff. You can let the Uber handle the search for you. And the same with our drivers API. We wanted to make it easy for third parties to build tools on top of drivers. Drivers want to be paid instantaneously, they want to be able to understand how much they're earning, how much they're spending, and they want to make it easy for them to file their taxes at the end of the year. And so we effectively built a bunch of APIs that allow you to do exactly that. You can pull your identity with the partner's key endpoint, and you can pull the trip history and figure out how much you're making on each trip, as well as your tax summaries at the end of the year. And through this, we're able to do integrations with people like Intuit, H&R Block, Payfare, and Stride, that allow our driver ecosystem to have really great tools. And anyone can build these tools. So anyone can build businesses on top of Uber now. That's not just functionality for Uber, but it's functionality for third parties. It's distribution from Uber. And then we really wanted to make it easy for external teams to build on top of these developer products. Again, it's not just enough to release an API. Most of the time, companies build platforms. They do it through business development relationships with large companies. They try a very small integration, and they scale it from there. And this didn't work with Uber. We wanted to encourage innovation. We wanted to encourage people to build whatever they wanted and to really create an open marketplace. And so that's what we did. And so you end up with interesting projects that won't get built if there's a business development person involved. So this is one of the more interesting examples that I like, which is bar roulette, where you can simply pick a location in the city, pick some friends, and randomly choose a bar and get everybody an Uber there. And so these aren't the types of apps that get built when you do business development deals. This isn't worth millions of dollars in revenue to Uber. And so this is one of the reasons we wanted to iterate with developers. And one of the things that we learned is that developers have great ideas. They think of integrations you've never thought of. The data that you want to expose in order to figure out the right products, you actually need to listen to your community. And so we've been doing that. And so now I want to talk about a few things that I've learned along the way in building this. And so I borrowed this slide from Google's developer relations team. And if you think about how most developer platforms are built, this is the organizational structure that most companies follow. You have a platform engineering team that's focused on building the core APIs, and then you have some form of developer relations, technical evangelism team that acts as a feedback loop from the community to the product. They build apps, they write sample code, and they make the community successful. And so this is not how Uber does this. We're structured a little bit more like this. And I'll talk about how we evolve this over time. Because we learned that what works for a single API, or a wide request API that we originally launched, doesn't work when you have many platforms and many different program teams building on top of these platforms. So the way our organization structure looks today is we have a platform team that focuses on core infrastructure. We have a features team that really focuses on building APIs and enabling the program teams to build those APIs. We have our SDKs team that enables third parties to easily integrate with those APIs through different functions. We have partner engineering for top-tier partners like Facebook and Google. And then we have developer advocacy to focus on the long tail to make sure that everyone gets the same level of support, that everyone can be successful using Uber's developer platform. And so a little bit of how this is structured. Is nowadays, it used to be structured like this, and then we recently decided to change how this works because what we realized is developer advocacy and partner engineering are needed across the stack. And we've actually evolved this even a bit further. And so if you think about how these functions play together, you have developer advocacy that supports the community through things like Stack Overflow and handling pull requests on GitHub. They go to hackathons and present at events like this, and they help the community drive innovation by seeding ideas and by working with them to bring them to fruition. And we also try to make every developer aware that Uber has an API. And then we have our partner engineering. They support our partners from idea to launch. And in some cases, you need a dedicated person or a dedicated team to help drive it from the idea to launch. But you don't want to just have this for top-tier partners. You want to enable this for everyone. And they help us influence the roadmap and design the right APIs. What works for a long-tail developer does not work from Google. And so you need that feedback loop to make sure that you're doing the right things and improving your APIs in the right ways. And they support developer advocates and basically align the platform's direction with developers' needs. And so we started to evolve our model. It started pretty straightforward. It started as a small team, and it evolved quickly from there. At Uber, everything moves really quickly. And so when you're growing this fast, you don't really have time to stop and really think for the long term. Sometimes you really just need to react to keep things going. And so our platform team is really focused on the stability needs. How do we just keep everything working as expected? Handle bug reports if we know that there's a big launch, help with capacity planning and load prediction. And then the partner engineering and developer advocates focus on the integration needs. What are the right APIs to design and how should they work? What's the right data to expose? How should the webhooks interact? And they take the feedback from the community and they work with the features team to make sure we're building things the right way. And the same with the SDK team. What's the right way to be able to integrate this? Does this make sense as a REST API? Should this be a webhook? Is this better as a deep link? Should this be an embeddable widget? Or should this be a standalone button? What are the features that are needed for easy integration? And so the platform team then enables us to deal with developer issues. They figure out outage alerts. When we need things to scale, they figure out what are causing problems and stability concerns. And then the features team works directly with the developer advocacy team to figure out how do we handle long-tail developers? What's the right support model? What's the way the API should work? What's the source of truth? Is it a bug or is it a feature? Do we intend it to work that way or are things broken? Should we change it? And so we often work with the features team to understand exactly how things should work. And the same with the SDKs. What's the right way to build this for our audience of developers and product managers? And so one of the things that we realized early on is that whenever you talk about integrations, people don't understand the scope of work. Is this a 1-week engineering task? Is this a 6-month integration? What is it going to take to go from idea to launch? And so we started to restructure our message and we started to restructure how we tell our story around this idea of making it easy to understand for a specific use case the level of effort required. And so we started to create more options for developers to integrate. If you just want to sign in with single sign-on, you can use Uber's native single sign-on to provide an easy integration. You can use deep links to, if you don't want to have any engineering effort at all, just construct a URL that'll automatically open the Uber app and go to your destination. If you want to work in some sort of promotion, you can apply a promotion code and then go and take a ride. And then we want to make it easy to bring our buttons everywhere. Every app that you know and love that has the context of a location or there's an intent to ride, we want to make it as easy as possible to order an Uber ride. And oftentimes, even if you don't have the Uber application installed, you might want to offer the Uber experience. And so we built a widget that is a completely embeddable experience where you can just embed the entire ride request experience without having the Uber app installed at all. And so now we enable third parties to provide the entire experience. When we were first working to build these APIs, there was a large concern. What happens if we create this open platform? What happens if people start to disintermediate us or deteriorate the brand? And so at some point we decided there was a big bold bet to make it as open as possible. And so one of the things we also learned was enable developers to go from 0 to hero. We wanted you to be able to go to developer.uber.com, check out one of our developer products, and in a single tutorial be able to go from knowing nothing to a successful integration. And so we started to restructure all of our documentation around this idea. Pick a use case and have a tutorial focused on just that. And so again, we didn't want to be a gate to the developer platforms. If you look at the way the mobile ecosystem has evolved over the last decade, when Apple first released the iPhone, there was no App Store. And then they released the App Store and they enabled an entire ecosystem around that. If you compare how Facebook worked in the early days, how compared to Friendster and MySpace and others, one of the things they did was allow developers to deeply integrate with their platform. And so we wanted to make it easy as well. We didn't want to have a walled garden. We wanted you to build the ideas that you thought were cool and release them to the audiences. And so we made it completely self-service to go and create an application and to get started. And we started providing metrics and a feedback loop on how many clicks am I getting, how many rides am I creating, am I seeing traction? And we didn't want you to have to go through this long App Store approval process or submission flow. We wanted you to just be able to build. And through the experience of a lot of our team, we learned that you really need to be a good shepherd of your platform. It's really hard to repair broken trust. A lot of companies have released APIs only to realize later that it wasn't a great strategy. And so if you look at the way some developer platforms like Twitter and Netflix and Spotify and Venmo have changed over the years, sometimes it's really hard to commit to the long term. And so we really wanted to, before we release an API, make sure it's something that we're going to support for the long term. And that really guides how we build these products and the products that we've chosen to release. And along the lines of going from 0 to hero, we wanted documentation built for developers. This wasn't marketing pages built for product people or the office of the CIO to understand at a really high level, what's the business value and benefit. A lot of that was pretty straightforward. We wanted developers to be able to quickly build on top of it. And so again, we created all these tutorials that go from 0 to hero, from creating an application to having a ride request and seeing analytics that show the value of that. And one of the biggest pitfalls I see with developer platforms today is that they only document the success case. And in engineering, software will eventually work and hardware will eventually fail. And so when you think about how to structure your docs, you really need to account for the error cases. And so again, we interact with the real world, and there's a lot of cases where things don't work the way you might expect. And so we need to make it extremely obvious what the error is and how to remedy that problem. And so for anywhere where we give examples, we give a curl example of how to make a request. We also give all of the possible errors you're going to run into and the way to resolve each one of those. And early on, a lot of this comes back from our developer advocacy and our partner engineering teams, where we need to understand what are the inbound support requests. When you're dealing with a high volume of external developers who are using your APIs in all these interesting ways, you start to see patterns. And so most of these lessons learned have come from seeing the patterns in the community and how to evolve to make sure that we are proactive in preventing those problems in the future. And this was the same with our API reference docs. One, they should be accurate. It should work as described. And you should document every possible error case. And so creating SDKs and sample apps enable developers, but creating SDKs and maintaining them across a large set of languages is expensive. So you should build as many SDKs as you can afford to build. And SDKs are only as good as the sample apps to show people how to use them. People don't want to read docs. When I go to integrate with another company, I don't go through all of their documentation. I try to find an application that's already built, and I dissect how it works from there. And so we wanted to enable as many sample apps and SDKs as possible. And again, working with the real world, all of Uber's users are transactional. You have riders, you have drivers, you have couriers, and you have eaters. And now you have freight drivers. And so we wanted to make it safe to play in a sandbox. When all of your users are transactional, that means that everything costs money. And so it becomes incredibly difficult to test. When all of your products are unique, when all of your cities are unique, it becomes very complicated to test the global integration. Things like the Uber Developer Sandbox make it easy to test different developer products. Some cities only have Uber Black or Uber Lux. Some cities have Uber X. In some cities, there's Uber X with Uber Pool. And each one of those add different challenges and different integrations. And each one of those are really hard to test. So we wanted to make it as easy as possible for developers to play in a sandbox and to test global integration. And then we automate the tedious tasks. This is really often understated, but don't make developers jump through hoops. One of the things that we found is that people don't really understand deep links. A deep link is simply a URL that links to your application and goes to a specific screen. Like, I want to order a ride going to this destination. And we had so many requests around, hey, how do I name this parameter? I screwed up the URL formatting. So make it easy. We wanted to just automate it with a simple wizard, and this has completely prevented all of these pull requests you originally had. So in this case, you simply pick a location you want to be picked up at, which is usually the user's current location, and then I want to send them to an event like the World Trade Center Event Center, and I want to use the default product. In this case, generally, it's the cheapest product available on the market. And I just want to be able to link into an application. And the next was generating access tokens. OAuth is pretty straightforward, I think. Turns out OAuth is not as easy as I think it is, and there's tons of issues when you have to, in order to even test the API, have a user sign in, authenticate, exchange that code for an access token, and then use that access token to make API calls. And so for all of our developer docs, we wanted to make it very easy to just be able to copy and paste examples. And so we made it easy to generate new access tokens without having to go through this entire auth flow and just paste them into our examples and get going right away. And again, I stated this earlier, but errors should be obvious and helpful. Most people only think about what it looks like to have a successful integration, but more often than not, developers run into problems. And so when they run into those problems, you should make it as easy as possible to understand how to fix it. And so all of our docs are structured around this idea. So great support is critical, but you really need to build a community. I've been a part of a few different developer platforms and ecosystems. I started in the open source world where I worked on a framework called Symphony, and I brought it to Yahoo in 2006 to build properties like Yahoo Answers and Delicious. From there, I joined a company called AppDynamics that does enterprise monitoring of distributed applications. And so there's open source communities, there's technical integration communities, and there's product developer platforms. And one thing I realized about each one of these is it's not about just having a place for people to discuss, but it's about having a great way to get feedback and to have a self-sustaining community. A lot of people think of this as just a way to advertise your services or to showcase integrations, but you really need to build more than that. And don't make it a walled garden. Go where developers already live. When developers run into errors, they just go to Google and they Google that error. And more often than not, that just sends them to Stack Overflow. So you should have a presence there, and that should be your primary place to provide support and actual quality answers. And what you'll find is if you invest in this, the community will actually give back. And so now I rarely actually answer any of these questions because the community beats me to it. And that's only possible because we built this in an open way, where we're already using the tools that developers love. Sometimes you need an email address, and people just love this. So obviously you need things like Google Groups, and you need a way to have just a generic contact that somebody can send an email to. And so we offered Google Groups as a platform. And then recently Medium has sort of taken off, and we wanted a way to showcase integrations and to provide launch announcements and community feedback. And so we leveraged Medium, which I feel a lot of companies are using today. And so with all of these are tools that already existed in the community, that people are already publishing on, that we simply embraced and created an official channel around. And then almost all of this stuff is based on open source tools. And so we really like to build in the open. We try to release as much as possible on GitHub. And so you can find out a ton of these tools on uber.github.io. But it's not just the tools, it's also the learnings. How do we actually build this platform? We like to share our knowledge too, through our engineering blog. And by doing all of this stuff in an open way, on an open platform, we learned a lot of lessons. When we first launched the Ride Request API, it was an effort by our partnerships team to enable integrations, how most APIs generally start if the API is not your product itself. And as we scaled to multiple APIs, we realized that what works for a single API doesn't work for a developer platform. You need to change the model. And so early on, it looked a lot like this. And then some crazy animation, and we started to change actually how it's structured. But ultimately what we realized is that we need to have dedicated support for each one of the program teams. Again, the drivers API was not built by the developer platform team. It was built by our driver partnerships team. The deliveries API was built by the Uber Rush team. And so we wanted to make sure that the same quality that we brought to the Ride Request functionality, we exposed to every API that program teams launched. And so we changed our model. We collapsed features and SDKs into a group called developer products, because that's what they are. They're API products built for developers. And then for each program team that we've added, we've scaled out how we support those teams. And so in some cases, we have high-value partners that need dedicated partner engineering. And in other cases, we have increased need for developer advocacy. And so we started to assign dedicated resources to each one of these program teams. And we learned a little bit more over time. You have to scale the process and your team. Early on, there's a lot of hand-holding required to get started. And so the more you make things self-service, the more you automate the tedious tasks and make errors obvious and make your documentation great, the less support burden you have. The less you have to scale your team of people, and just by having a documented process somewhere that people can follow in a self-service model. And one of the things we learned is that developer value comes from listening to your developers. A lot of these products, a lot of the ways that we offer integrations came as ideas from the community. Hey, I want to be able to offer Uber functionality, but my users don't have the Uber app installed. How can I do this today? And so the Uber embeddable widget came along. The same with buttons. We want to make it as easy as possible to drop in our iOS or Android SDKs and enable Uber functionality across applications. And these are all community ideas. But you actually have to listen to the community and take that feedback and create a feedback loop between the community and the product teams. But understanding the value you bring to your company is really about understanding what your developer platform uniquely brings to your company. Again, our goal is twofold. It's internally helping program teams build products, and externally making third-party partners successful with those products. And we really only focused on the last part up until last year. And so really understanding that most of the value comes from us enabling people internally to build these products has really widened the scope of what we work on today. But the challenge is not the technology, it's imagination. And so I'd like to challenge you guys to, what future will you build? You can find out more at developers.uber.com. And I'm happy to answer any questions. That's all I have for you.
Hey Dustin, here is a headset if people want to ask questions in Portuguese, maybe.
Everybody all at once.
Yeah, I have some questions to you. In terms of key metrics for your platform, what kind of metrics developer advocate team, for example, pursue on their?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we started the developer platform, you can imagine it was about rider acquisition, and really the business value was acquiring riders through unlocking new channels. But when you're growing at the scale that Uber is growing, unlocking one integration isn't really comparable to launching a new city. Like launching in Sao Paulo is small compared to, or is big compared to launching a new developer integration. And so one of the things we've started to shift towards is not just from acquisition, but to engagement. One of the biggest values from Uber's developer platform and learnings from over the last year has been that we really need to focus on engagement and loyalty, and create a bigger moat between us and our competition. If your Uber experience is enhanced by all of the apps that you know and love that you're already using, you're more likely to choose Uber the next time you need a ride. The same for drivers. If drivers will choose Uber if they have a better support system, they get paid faster, they get more rides, they have a better quality experience. And so we've shifted these key metrics to be around engagement rates. And this has really helped evolve from rider acquisition and sort of growth and direct new rides to how more frequently are people taking rides, how more engaged are they during the ride, and how do we affect their loyalty and their ratings over time.
All right, cool. Can you share some metrics around the size of the developers base or touch points with developers or any other?
I can't give specific metrics on developers, but I can say that we hit our 2 billionth trip last July, and that we do 5 million on average daily trips, and that the average trip is 20 minutes in duration. So if you just think about the opportunity that's available by reaching more than 5 million people a day at a time when they're idle sitting in a car, there's a strong business value there, a strong opportunity for the world's global brands to integrate. And so that's what we've seen a lot of. And so while I can't share specific numbers, I can see that we've seen great engagement by offering these new customer experiences. When you show up at the airport and you see that you have a reservation at a hotel, and you can tell the hotel that you're arriving in 2 minutes, and they can just hand you a key as you walk in, you just optimize that customer experience. The same for in-car entertainment. People just don't look at, if you look at how planes work nowadays, fewer and fewer people are watching screens and they're just looking at their own device, whether that's a laptop, a tablet, or a phone. And so the more you can make the phone, the in-app entertainment, the in-car entertainment, the better engaging those rides will be.
Good. Any? We have one question over there. While the microphone arrives, I have another question. We had another session talking about developer advocacy. Tell us a little bit, how is the journey of a developer advocate?
Yeah, so, the role of developer advocate, my team was the first time we've ever had this concept in Uber, and so I think it was a lot of lessons learned. I think a lot of companies think of it as just technical marketing, and I think that's the wrong approach. I personally don't like the idea of technical evangelism. I like the idea of developer advocacy, because the real value and the real goal behind that function should be to be the feedback loop for the community and to make things better by listening to them, not to try to go out and sell them. If you just go with a product message to a developer audience, it's not going to resonate. Developers don't like being sold to. And so by showing them how to be successful, by showing them really cool technical ways to solve problems, I think that's the way you reach that audience. And I think the goal there is to listen to them to understand what you should be building for them in the future and what doesn't work today. One of the biggest things we've learned and by answering Stack Overflow questions, by being on the other side of the support, is to be proactive. It's not just enough to respond and answer your question. What change can we make to the way the API works, to the way we document this, to the way we tell our product marketing story, to be preventative and proactive about solving for the future? And I think this has been one of the biggest lessons learned, and one of the biggest failures that I see at other companies is where they just treat it as technical marketing and they don't treat it as a feedback cycle.
Great.
Actually, I have two questions. I was curious about what happened to the guys that make the reverse engineering that you mentioned before. And the second one is, do you have any control about the user experience when you just provide APIs so anyone can use these APIs? Do you have any kind of control or approval for the API?
So to answer the first question, what happened to the engineer who reverse engineered our first API? At first we killed the application because we saw a massive spike in traffic and we didn't know where it was coming from. So the first response was to, okay, let's stop this and figure out what's going on. Then he wrote a blog post and he said, okay, we understand what you're trying to do, there's a better way, and we re-enabled it, and he's been happy ever since. The second question, we tried to build an open platform. So the question again was, when you build the ride request functionality, is there any sort of approval process? Because if they can just change your brand, what happens when they start to deteriorate that? How can you have policy enforcement? We do have an approval process for the specific focus of ordering ride requests on behalf of users. So if you want to have the entire, be able to make an API call on behalf of a user, you need to go through basically a small flow that enables that functionality for your application. And so we're very open with the platform, we're very clear with the guidelines, but there is both an approval to give this functionality for the world, as well as we have clear guidelines if you violate them when we enforce them.
Thank you.
Just another question about Brazil specifically. Is the developer platform available for Brazilian developers to create apps?
Absolutely. So I think the app is a price competition app that allows you to understand how to get from A to B and your different options. And so yes, the platform is available in Brazil. Not all of the products are. So Uber Deliveries, as an example, is not yet launched in Sao Paulo. But Uber Eats is, so you start to see a mix. But yes, the platform is completely available in Brazil, and it's open for anyone to build on top of. We're constantly trying to launch new APIs and scale them for every market, but again, that's quite challenging. So usually, once we have a supply, like drivers, we start to build out the rest of the product offerings. But all in due time.
Are there already nice developer stories creating apps in Brazil?
Yeah, I'm working on actually drafting them and publicizing them. Yeah, there's a few that I can't talk about quite yet, but we're really working with some interesting brands to build some really interesting consumer experiences. I think this is, I can't really screw up the launch by talking about it now, but yes, follow more on medium.com/uberdevelopers, or follow us on Twitter.
Any other question? No? Okay. I would like to thank you very much for making the time, and the trip from San Francisco to São Paulo was very cool.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for your time listening. If I can ever be of any help, please feel free to reach out.
Great.